exactly we have to cover today. We already worked on one of the basic building blocks of the language, which is the data type, right? And we had a very lengthy discussion on that part. So I hope you do not have any doubts on it, but still, it's just the starting point. So once we move ahead, right, you might have some doubts in this area again, right? So I'm okay with that part. Uh, okay, what we have to cover today. So first of all, if you again see, right, what we did yesterday was like I was, let's say I want to create, I want to store my name, right? Let's say I want to store my name. So can someone please help me? What should I write? Let's say this is my JavaScript code and console, right, where I'm writing my code. What what line of code should I write if I want to store it into a variable? Can someone please help me?
Let
First name.
first name equals to name, any name.
Wait, okay, you said let, right? So okay,
Yes.
let. Then what? First name, right? First name.
Yeah, first name equals to, in double quote, Tejeshwari, like that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
or
just
Akhil. Anything works.
right, it should be right. No worries. Okay, yeah. So this is one way, right? Okay. Okay. Should I put double quotes or single quotes?
uh, like we can write single quote also.
So both are okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we can write this also, right? Tejaswari,
Yes.
right? So we can do this. Okay. Why did you use let
Second,
here?
Uh, to declare as a variable.
Okay. And okay. Can't I? I mean, do I have an option that not to use this and just write this line? Will it work? Or is it like I have to
I'm
do this only?
I'm not sure. I haven't
Okay.
checked that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else wants to give a try? Like, how should I create a variable?
yeah. So
Yes.
the first, like only first name and Akhil. That will.
Okay, so we are seeing one more option, right? Okay, right. So this is option one. This is option two. Anyone else wants to give it a try?
Use the
What is
var
it?
keyword. Var
Right.
keyword.
Right.
Var,
Where?
some name is equal to variable name is equal to.
Right. So let me put Ashwin name here. Right. Okay. Okay. Someone wants to give one more try. There's one last option pending.
Constant.
So
We can use constant.
const, right. So const, right, and first name equals to Hassan, right?
Yeah.
I can write this. Okay. Yesterday we discussed, right, that there is no need in JavaScript to mention your data type, right? So you can see I'm not telling here like this is a string, right? I'm not telling this that this is has to be a string. So data type I'm not providing, which is we are okay with, right? And we understand this now. What is this let, where, const, and why we are not providing something here? What are these for? First of all, these
Uh,
are types. These are not data types, right? Yeah, Hassan, please.
I mean, so the let you can change its value, uh, you know, and for
Mm-hmm.
constant you cannot change its value, and for var it's kind of an old way of doing things. Like you can it's just same thing as let, but it has a problem with the wasting,
Right.
variable wasting. It says like it should be used for more at the function level, not at the block level.
Yeah, your answer is technically right, but I'm sure a lot of people would have not understood. But again, but what you said is absolutely correct, right? Can you also tell me about where and about this part? What is happening in these two cases? If you know, you told about let and const, and where you said it's like an older way of writing the code, which is okay. But does it work like let or does it work like const? The where part.
It works like a let.
Okay, it works like let, and there is a difference of the scoping also, right? As you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, so let me write some words here, right, everyone? One is the scooping thing, right, which is very important in JavaScript. Okay, so I'm putting it here. We have not discussed this, so I don't expect anyone to know about it. Okay, so let me park this aside, right? And today we are not going to discuss about scoping. We will discuss it, but not today, right? So again, coming back, and what about the last part, Hassan? If you know about this also, what is happening here? Will it work? And if it work, like why it is working? Why do I not have to specify anything here? Hassan, if you can hear me, if you know
Yes,
this answer.
I mean, so you have already defined
Let's
the.
say I have not defined. Let's say I have not defined, and this is the first time I'm typing right, and the line is this: first name equals to Akhil.
It will be still correct because JavaScript will automatically assign, uh, you know, it would define it as being
Okay.
in a let.
So first of all, this is a valid thing, right? It's a valid thing,
Yeah.
and I mean, is it like it's like a default case and it matches to let, const, or wet somehow, or is it like it's like a completely fourth different thing?
It would be probably a let, I guess.
Okay.
Yes.
No worries, right? I'm absolutely okay. Okay, but it's good, right, that people at least know about these four things, right? Now, as we have seen the variations, right? Like, okay, as we have seen the four variations here, now let us start discussing them one by one. Okay. Now, till now, if you would remember, right, what we did till yesterday was, if you would see back in day two, I did not created them, right? I did not define let, where, const, right, for any of my variables. I just created a variable and assigned a value, right? Like this. I just create a variable equal and then assigned a value. I am not specifying data type because we discussed this is not required in JavaScript. You can't specify data type here. That is one thing. Second of all, now today we are discussing about that if you have to declare a variable. What is declaring a variable means? Declaring a variable means that you're telling to JavaScript that, hey, I'm saying that there would be a variable with this name. So I'm notifying you that there is a variable with this name coming, and it can have a value. What value, what not value, right? Depends on us whether we are assigning a value to it or not. So you remember, right? I think yesterday when I was doing this part, second name. Let's say let me write some name here. Okay, let me not do anything here. Let's go to day 3. I'll write here. So I will say first name, right? So first of all, understand this is a valid syntax. I'm writing first name equals to, let's say, Akhil here, right? And this is a valid syntax. Again, semicolon, I mean, this semicolon and all, right, is mandatory, optional, and all that part, right? It's an optional thing. If you wish like, you can add. If you feel like, if you're coming from the background of Java, like me, I have a habit of always putting a semicolon after it. So this works, right? It works. Also, this is also works. So this is fine. So now, what I'm going to say here is like, I am I am declaring a variable and I am assigning a value to it, right? So these are two different things. So when you say that you're saying first name, right? When I write only this, it means I am declaring a variable. I am declaring a variable, right? When I say equal to and then assign a value to it, let's say Akhil, right? This is called assigning a value, right? You're assigning a value to a variable, assigning a value to the variable, and this is your variable, right? So declaring is this part, and assigning a value is this part, right? Now let's go back. In this case, right, I am doing both the things. I am declaring the variable, right, and I'm assigning the value. And JavaScript is totally fine with it. If I use console.log and I say first name and I run this, let me run this. You can see print. Let me just clean this up. You can see it prints Akhil, right? It prints Akhil. Okay, so there is nothing wrong as of now. Consider that there is nothing wrong, right? Now, if I would have done this, let's say I'm removing this, I'm just saying first name, right, like this, or let's say I do not put a semicolon and something, right, and I'm doing this, and if I run it now, this time it gave me a value saying first name is not defined. First name is not defined, right? It's saying it is not defined. Okay. If I start using something now, let's say where, okay, I'm saying where, and let it be this, and if I run it now, we just clean this up and run it again. This time you see the output says undefined. Let's remove this and now use let. If I use let, right, I'm not assigning the value, right? Please see that. If I run it now, it says again undefined. Okay, fine. If I say constant now, right, this time the compiler is complaining that, man, you are saying it a constant. Okay, I have not explained const, but let me see the output here, right? Here is saying missing initializer in const declaration. Okay, you saw all four, right? Like what is happening here? Now let me come to the drawing board and let's understand this one by one. Okay, so let me clean this up actually. Delete, and let's open the board again. Right. Now, I told you yesterday, right, that JavaScript started in 1995, right? 1995. So when JavaScript came into existence, right, there was only two options of creating a variable and assigning a value to it. That was where, right? You could create a variable, right? You could define or declare a variable by saying where. So let's say I'm saying where, right? First name is first name. Okay, first name. So here what you're doing is you're telling to JavaScript, hey JavaScript, there is a variable first name, right, which I am declaring, so you should be knowing about it. Okay, you should be knowing about it. Now when you do var here, right, when you do var here, it's up to you whether you assign a value, or not, right? You could write this, or maybe you could just leave it like this, first name, and that's it, right? You could just leave it like this, or you could write something like this, right? If you try to print this, right, as an output now, let's say you say console.log first name here, right? If you try to run this now, what this will print? Currently you have not assigned a value, right? And I told you yesterday, if you do not assign a value, right, what value your variable get? Undefined, right? You have created a variable and you're not assigning a value to it. What value does it get? It gets undefined, right? So if I print this, right, it will print me undefined here. Okay, so you can consider like you're saying something like this to it, undefined. Okay, just a second. Right, so this says undefined here. Okay, I mean whether you write it this way or you do not write it altogether, it will still be undefined. The second part here, right, when you say where first name equals to Akhil and you run this, right, you get what? You get Akhil here as an output. The second way, right, which came in the legacy JavaScript, right, this is one option. The second option is that you could just simply write first name, right, equals to Akhil. This is totally fine, right? This is also totally fine. If you write console.log and try to run first name, right, here you know that the output would be what? Akhil here, right? But if you just simply write first name, right, thinking that you have created a variable, right, and now in the next line you say console.log first name and expect that this should print me undefined, then this is incorrect. It will not print this. Why? Because JavaScript will not consider this like a variable. If you want JavaScript, right, either you do this, right, either you are creating a variable and assigning a value to it. If you do it both the things in the same line, JavaScript will still agree and say that okay, this is a variable and it has a value, and this is fine with me. But if you do this and you try to use this like this, right, it will not say undefined, it will say reference error. It will say reference error. No, I don't know what is first name. Okay, I don't know what is first name. Rather, JavaScript does not know that it's a variable, it's a function. What exactly it is, right? It does not know. Okay, this is one part. Yeah, please. Anyone wants to ask?
And what if define null like empty characters? I think that time it will still print what empty.
If you do here, right, you're saying null?
Yeah, null line either like single quotes or like string characters.
If you do anything within single quotes or double quotes, it's still a string, right?
Yeah.
It's still a string. Similarly, if you do null here, right, we discussed yesterday, null is also data type, right?
Yeah.
So it should print null. Let's try. So if I say first name equals to null, okay, and let's print this and see what do we get. Let me just clean this up. You see, it printed null,
Mhm.
right? If I say single quotes or double quotes, right, I keep it empty and all. If I run this, it will print what? A blank value, whatever you're providing here, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, you can give, let's say, undefined, right? If you say undefined, it will be undefined now.
Okay, without any spaces, I think it will give
You mean
undefined itself.
something like this?
Yeah.
No, this will be space, right? This will be like an empty space. You're
Okay.
putting it as a string, right? Undefined will only be when you're not defining a value or you specifically say undefined, because that is one of the data type in JavaScript, as I explained yesterday. Okay.
Okay.
So if you are expecting a value, a variable to have undefined, either you should do this, right, and it will get an undefined, right, or either you could leave it all together. But the problem here is that you will have to use let const. Const will also not work. You will have to use let or where here, right? Because if I use it like this to run it, right? Let's say if I try to use it like this, it will throw an error. Let me clean it up and run again. It will say reference error. First name is not defined, right? It will say first name is not defined. Okay. One more thing, right?
So,
Uh,
so
yeah,
when
please.
you use like a var or let, it's going to be saying undefined. But when you're not declaring with any var or let, it's going to give you just not defined. So there's a difference between these two, right?
There is a difference between undefined and not defined,
Not defined. Okay.
right? And
So
that was, yeah, please, yeah.
so what is the then? So how does the compiler gives you this issue of constant? You know, how does compiler you know right away it can identifies so there is a difference between this var let and constant in that sense that when you just declare that with constant it gives you an issue with the compiler itself, right?
Right. So that is the work of the VS Code here, right? VS Code as a intelligent code editor, it knows the syntax and the grammar rules of JavaScript, right? So it
Mhm.
knows that if you are trying to create a variable with const, right, and trying to declare it with const, it expects, see, what is const? Okay, I have not explained to everyone. What is constant? If you wanted to keep a variable to have a constant value, so the value which will not change, right? If that is what you're trying to, I mean, if that is your intention, you should create a variable with the const as a declaration type, right? So that is where the const will come into the picture. If you expect your variable will can have any value, right, and the value you are assigning can be modified or updated, you should either think of using let, where, right, or maybe without using anything, right, like first name equals to that value. Now coming to your question, Hasan, so the answer is again the same. As I said, it is the Java. When you can consider it like this, Kanish, you are absolutely correct. That is what the you can understand that way, right? But okay, coming back to your question, Hasan, so the answer to the question is it is the code editor, right? The intelligence of the code editor, that it is making sure that since it's a JS file and it knows that what are the syntax and the grammar rules of it, it is helping you to identify that issue right away, right? Without even running the code first. Okay.
Mm.
Otherwise, as we have discussed yesterday, that JavaScript is an interpreted language. So when you run it right, you get to know about the failures over there. But since we have an intelligent system, so it is taking care of those grammatical or syntactical errors, right, which you're putting in there. At least the high level issues. Okay.
So when you like not declaring that with any var let any with any identifier, right? These are identifier, I guess. uh, so, so how is it taking this as a let or is it taking this as a var?
Nothing. It is not taking it like nothing here, right? The answer to that question is on the scoping. The answer to your question is that depending on what you use, whether you use where, let, const, or nothing, right? What difference it makes the difference in the scoping of that variable, right? How big the scope of that variable becomes. If you do
It
not
creates
declare,
it. Sorry to interrupt. It treats it like a global variable. Like first name, if you don't give any uh, declaration, then it will treat it as a global variable. And like if we declare it var also, like it will treat as it as a global variable. Like correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure.
No, you're absolutely right. But one thing to point out here is, okay, I think since again, as I'm saying, right, we have not discussed scoping, so I don't want to get into the details of it. We will, in the course of duration, will get to that point. But just to make things, I mean, just to answer Hassan's query, the point is not that if I am writing it this way, it is like by default working as a var. No, it is not working as a var. Okay, it's like a fourth completely different kind of a thing, right? But the answer, or you can relate to it this way, that if you are creating a variable like this, right, you are creating a variable with the global scope. You're creating a variable with the global scope, right? When you create a variable with the var, right, let's say this var second name equals to, let's say, okay, I did first name here, okay, let's say second only, second, right? If I do it this way, right, this is something where, right, where nature is the function scope, right? It is function scope if you are creating a variable inside a function. But if you keep that variable outside the function, it attains the scope of a global variable. So
Right.
it works both the ways. If you put
Yes.
it into a function, it works with the function block, right? Scope. If you put it outside the function, it attains the scope of the global variable. But again, since I know that we have not discussed this, so please, everyone else, if you are not understanding this, please park it. We will discuss it in depth, right? Okay. But just to answer Hassan's query, I'm answering this. So this is function scope, or it can attain the global scope. When we talk about let, right? Let's say the third name. So third here, right? If I do this, the scoping rule for let is it is block scope. So if you have a block of code which is under the parenthesis, right? The parenthesis, if you like, let's say if I open a parenthesis like this, right? And if I write some code, write something here, if I create a variable here, so what it means is the scope of the variable, right? Whichever I will create here, let's say let this variable lives under this block only. Okay, that is what block scope means. Again, please ignore it if you don't understand it as of now, but this is what let provides. Similarly, const, if you create a const variable, right, it also has the block scope. Let me write here fourth name. But the problem with the const is that whenever you are declaring, right, it is mandatory for you to provide a value, because since it is const, it's a constant value, you will not get a chance to update it again. Okay, at least directly. So I cannot do something like this. I cannot just leave it like this. Okay, it will not allow me. You will have to assign a value to it. Let's say fourth, right? And if you would try to update the value of this again, right, by saying, okay, it is now fifth, it's a problem here. I think it should be a problem. Let's see. It is not giving because it is okay here. Let's just try to run it. Okay, let me just clear it. You see, assignment to constant variable is not allowed, right? It is saying that you have it's a constant variable and you are trying to assign it to, you're trying to update a value. It is not allowed in JavaScript. So again, the takeaway, right, which you should take from this discussion today, right, as of now, is that there are 4 different ways of declaring a variable in JavaScript. One is without defining any var, let, const, right? Second is by using var. Third is with the let, and fourth is const. Now, which one should we use? That is the basic question which someone can ask me, right? So first of all, these two, right, we should avoid at any, I mean, always, right, we should avoid writing a variable using, I mean, without using any var, let, const, or using var, right? Because these are like legacy, because these are coming from the legacy operations, right? And they exist for the backward compatibility in JavaScript, and no one will, I mean, even if you try to use them, right, you will get a review comment very, I mean, as soon as someone reviews your code, right, they will tell you this is an older way and you should avoid using var and creating a variable like this. So for our understanding, right, you should not use it. No use, right? Avoid. Let me write avoid. You should avoid using it. Okay, we will avoid using any of these two approaches. Now what we are left with, these two things. Now the decision is simple, right? What you can do is, if you wanted to have a variable which can have a variable value, right? The value which can change, right? So you should create a variable with let. But if you wanted to have a variable which for which the value will not change, you will create it with the const. I hope this is very simple now, right? Because two came out of the equation, only these two are pending now. Now, but again, why it was needed for you to understand this? Because it's a very good interview question again, right? See, I'm very frank, right? On the JavaScript interviews process, please mark my word, right? The people who are taking the interviews of JavaScript, right? They themselves do not understand JavaScript, and they are taking the interviews based on what they see on the Google, or maybe some top 100 questions or something, right? So, right, and I've seen that, and I understand that part, right? Because getting in insight of JavaScript, right, is not an easy thing, because as we are, I mean, as we all have experienced this and we know that, right? And you will realize it, right? Why I'm saying this in a couple of weeks, right? You will understand that part, because understanding JavaScript, you have to have the in-depth knowledge of how JavaScript really works behind the scenes, and people do not have that insight, right? So that's why people ask you some silly questions. Okay, what are this where and all, whereas you will never be using it. And if you give them the answers about the scoping and all, right, they would not know it, but they will be very happy if you tell them, okay, that okay, this is block scoped and this is function scoped, but what exactly that means they do not know, right? Okay, but yeah, but I'm explaining all this in the context that you are able to explain this very well in the interviews also, right? Okay, but again, one part is missing from us, the scoping part, which I will discuss maybe after a week. We are very far from that discussion from now. Okay. Okay. Let's move ahead. So these are the 4 different ways you can declare a variable, right? So from now onwards, I will not use this. I will not use this, right? I will not use this way of writing the code. Okay. Yeah, please, Shalish. Shalish, if you're saying something, you're on mute. Okay. Maybe you raised the hand by mistake. Okay, no worries. Okay. Yeah. So these are the 4 things, right, which I wanted to cover. Although I think, okay, I'll speak about the part which I want to say maybe after a week. Let's leave it that part. Let's move to the next part, right? Okay, this is about how you use different kind of how do you declare the variables, right, in JavaScript by using let, const, and var. Now let's take up some basic operations, right, which you can do in JavaScript, right? So let's say I have 2 variables. Let's say let number 1 as let's say 6, right? And let's say there is a number 2, right, which I wanted to do. Number 2 equals to, let's say, 7, right? Now let's say I want to do the basic operations of arithmetic operations, right? I want to add the number. How will I do it? I can simply do console log, and I can write num1 plus num2. And if I run this, what output should I get? I get 13 here, right? I get 13 here, right? I hope this is very clear, right? That how we are getting 13, right? What you could also do is you could create a third variable, num3 equals to num1 plus num2, right? You could do this, and you can, instead of saying this, you could say just, okay, second. Okay, I don't know what is happening. Num3, right? Num3, and if I run this, you will get 13 again, right? Right. Similarly, the other operations of arithmetic, you can say minus. If I run this again, you get -1. If you do the division of it, this is 6 divided by 7. It should be what? 1, or this decimal value, right? Again, we discussed yesterday, there is there is no further classification within numbers. What you have is one type of data type, which is numbers only. So whether it is decimal, whether it is negative, positive, right? Everything is to this, right? And if I print, okay, let me also print the data type of this. So how do you know the data type of it? Num3. Let me run this. You see, it's a number. It's a number, right? Okay, let me just say the multiplication part also. So if we do this, okay, right? Number only, again, right? Okay. Let's say if I want to find the 2 raised to the power 3, the exponential part, right? Or the, let's say, the power kind of a thing. If you want to do that operation in JavaScript, right, you have to use double asterisk. So let's say I want to find 2 raised to the power 3, like this, right? So it is like 2 into 2 into 2, right? So the output should be what? 8, right? So you have to do something like this. Okay. What I did here? Okay, I think I did something wrong. Num1 is not defined. Num1 is defined. I think the rule of board mass is coming into the picture, if I'm not wrong. You can see 8 here, right? 8 here, right? Okay. The board mass rule and all, leave it as of now. But again, I'm just telling you like how you can perform arithmetic operations, right? Like this. Okay. There are some other operations, right, which we can do, which we have learned in Java also and in other languages. You could increment a value by 1, right? How do you do it? Let's say I want to add one value to num1. How can I do it? I can do something like this. Num1 equals to num1 plus 1. If I do this and I say num1 now here, right? And here num1, what should I get? 2 plus 1, it becomes 3, right? This is how it comes. It gets, so it is 3. In languages, right? In other languages also, there is a way, shortcut to it that you can write plus plus there, right?
Yeah.
So there also you can do the same thing. You can just write plus plus, and if you run it, you get 3. So it is similar to writing like this, right? Num1 equals to num1 plus 1.
So it
These
follows
both,
all the operators, like how it follows, like pre-increment, post-increment, and
yes, it follows all of them, right?
okay.
Right. So let us try actually. Let us try all of them. So if I say num1 minus minus, it should be 1 now, right? It should be 1, right? And let's see the pre. I don't remember the pre part, but let's check. If I do num1 here, right, it should be again minus 1, right? Sorry, 1 here, right? By reducing 1. So 2 minus 1 becomes 1. But okay, the difference would be here, right? Okay, someone can ask me, okay, Akhil, what is the difference between this and this? Right? Okay, so this is like a pre-increment, this is like a post-increment, right? So you will not be able to see the difference here. Let us see the difference maybe in the console.output. So what I'll do is I'll say minus minus 1 num1 here, right? What output should I see as I hope it works like Java. Let me try. I even don't remember everything, but let's try this. If I run this, what I feel is it should decrease the value of 2 by 1 and then print it, right? So the output of this line should give me 1,
One.
right? It should give me 1, at least as per my Java logic, which I understand. So let's try to see this. It gives me 1, right? But if I do something like this, I don't know, like whether it will be, I think it should be this only. It should be giving me 2 here, right? It should be printing 2, not 1.
Yes.
Let us try first. Let me clean this. 2. Now, who did not understood this part? Why it is giving me 2 as an output, not 1?
I didn't understand, Akhil.
Okay. See. Okay. So you understand Java, right, Hasan? Or you know Java?
I do know Java a little bit. I
Okay.
had
Okay. No worries. If you would have known Java, right, I could have explained from that context, but no worries. Let me say this here, right? See, what is happening here is, right, there is a difference, as I said, right, in both the operations, right? When you do this, right, and you do this, right?
Hmm.
Right. What happens here is that first of all the value is decreased, okay, whatever value num1 has currently, right? Okay, it will take num1 and decrease the value, right? And then you will get that value. Okay, that is what it works, right? If you see in these at line number 10 and 11, right, they both, okay, let me create a variable actually. Let me say n1 equals to this value, and let's say let n2 equals to this value. Okay, and why it is complaining? Could not find num. Did you mean num1? Yeah, I mean num1. This, right? And what I will do here is I will say n1 here, n1 here, and I will say console dot log n2 here, right? So we had this value. Let me also print num1 also, num1. Okay, and let's ignore this. I don't need this. So here, right? Let us run this and see what is happening here. What do you think, Hasan? It should print here, right? What should be the value of n1 here? If this line gets executed,
1.
we agree, right, Hasan? It should be 1.
It's gonna be decreased. Okay, it's gonna be 1.
It's going to be decreased, right, by 1 value. So it should be 2 minus 1 becomes 1 here, right? Now, because num1 as of now was what, 2, right? That's why it did something like this. It did something like this. 2 minus 1 became 1, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, I mean, at least the operation looks like this, right? That it should be doing this.
Yeah.
Over here in the second operation, right? What is the value of num1 now? 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? Value of num1 has been decreased, right?
Yeah. So now it's like 1. Yeah.
So it should be 1 minus 1 equals to 0, right?
Yeah.
Right? So if I print the value here, right, of n1, what do you think it should print? You think it should print 1?
Yeah. It should print 1. Yeah.
Okay. And what should it print here in n2?
It should be 0, I guess.
Okay. That is where, okay, not, yeah, that is where I have a, I differ. Let's see what it will be. I feel it should print 1. And I'll tell you why. Okay. What is the value of num1 here?
It will be 2.
It will be
2.
0.
It will be 0, right? When you do minus minus, right, it decreases the value of num1, right? See, when you do this, right, num minus minus or num1 minus minus, it is same as you're writing this, right? As you're writing this, num1 equals to num1 minus 1, right?
Okay.
So in a way, you are reducing a value and assigning it back to the variable again. Okay? You getting the point here? At least these
Yes.
2 points, right? So similarly, what is happening here? Try to understand here. What is happening here is it is doing the same stuff, right? It is reducing a value, right? It is first reducing a value and then assigning it to n1. Okay. Okay. Just come. Let's come to this part. Line number 8. What is happening here? What should be the output as per you? We have reduced the value of num1 by twice, right? 1 by here. Let me remove all this. We have reduced the value of num1 twice, right?
Yeah.
I decrease the value once here and then second time here, right? So what should be the value here now? 2 minus 1 becomes what? 0, right? So this is 0 here. Let's see, do we get 1 0 0 or 1 1 0? Okay. If you see this here, right? I got 1 1 0 here, right? I hope everyone agrees on this part, right? I am printing console.log n1 here, right? What is happening? See, there's a difference between pre-increment and post-increment, and that's why there are 2 different ways of it, right? What happens in this case is, right, before, see, ultimately we want to assign a value to n1 after performing the entire thing, right? That is our intention, right? So on the right hand side of this, what is happening? It is, since you have used pre-increment, that is putting minus minus first, right? Over there, what it will do is it will reduce the value of num1 by 1 first, right? So it is now 2 minus 1, right? So it became 1. And then whatever the output is, right, that value will get assigned to n1. Okay. So what is happening here is num1 was 2, right? So since it's a pre-operator, it first did this operation, got the output, and then assigned this output to n1. So n1 became 1. Understood, Fazil? Or no?
Understood.
Understood, right? Okay.
Understood.
Okay. Right. Now in the second case, right, when you see this operation, it is not a prefix, it's a postfix, right? It is happening like minus minus is after it, right? What
Yeah.
will happen? What happens in postfixes? Before evaluating itself, right, the value is assigned to n2. Okay. So first of all, the value got assigned to n2. What was the value of n1 currently? 1, right? The value of n1 after this operation was what? 1 here, right? Okay. So value of num1 was 1 here, right? After the above operation, right? Value of n1 num1 was 1 and value of n1 was 1, right? Like this. Now at line number 16, when you started running this line, right, I am saying that in the case of postfix, right, it is not evaluated, it is rather assigned, right? So num1 has the value of 1, right? It gets assigned to n2. So now after this thing, right, what happens is n2 gets the value of num1, which is 1 right now, right? And now the operation will happen. Now the value of num1 will be reduced because it's a post increment, it's a post decrement value, right? So now what will happen is this operation will kick in, num1 minus 1, which is what? Value of num1 was what? 1 a, right? After this operation. So 1 minus 1 became 0. So what is the value of n1? 1. What is the value of n2? 1. What is the value of num1 now? 0. And that is what you are saying, 1, 1 and 0. And that is the basic difference between the prefix and the postfix. In the prefix, the operation is, the calculation happens first and then the value is assigned. In the postfix, the value is assigned first and then the calculation takes place. Okay. Okay, great, right? So similarly, the increment operator will work, right? If I say plus plus, right, pre and pro and post, right, it will behave in a similar way. So I'll not. Okay, let me just do it that way also. So if you see this, right, tell me what would be the output here now. Let me remove all this.
So Akhil, we can understand that in the way that the memory gets updated later in the case of post operation.
No, please don't get into the memory part as of now. Just understand from the context, like
value updation.
Yes, just the value operation, right? Like
Okay.
try to break it into different operations, right? Assigning and calculation, right? So here what is happening here is it will first calculate and then assign. Okay. Here what is happening is it will first assign and then calculate. Just understand the sequence here. Don't get into the memory part because there are a lot of rules around it. So again, we have to discuss that part, but not today.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So again, please tell me what would be the output which I should see here in all three here.
Yeah, I was not sure of the question because if it was
N1 should be what?
I would have told it it wasn't open. But yeah,
It should be
my
3.
question
Okay.
for the user something relevant because if we show
Okay. So it should be 3. Okay. Anyone else who wants to try with the N2? What should be the output of N2 here?
3 again.
Okay. And what about N1? Num1?
4.
4, right? Okay. 4, right? So let's run this and see the output. 3, 3, 4, right? Okay. Okay, great, right? So we understood the prefix and the postfix operations. Again, this works similar, right, to other languages. It's not like it is only for the case of JavaScript. No, in Java also things work similarly only. Okay. Now coming to one more part. Let's say if I write a code like this, if I say num1, okay, let's say I want to add not 1, I want to add 10 to it, right? How do I write it? I can say num, whatever the value of num1 is, currently the value of num1 was 4, and I want to add 10 to it. I can write this statement, right? And if I print this line again, what would I get? I would get 14, right, as an output. Let me clean this and run it again. I get 14, right? So there's a shortcut for this also, right? So these are all shortcuts only, right? Plus, plus, and all that. For this also, there's a shortcut. What you can do is, you could write like this: plus equals to 10, right? This is same as this, right? This is same. It means same thing as this. If I run it now, I will still get 14. Again, why you should care to know about this? Because someone can give you a question, an MCQ, right, in a digital format, right, maybe through Geeks or some other on a platform, right, and they can, and you might see such equation being given to you and maybe asked to find the output. So you should know like how this works, right? You can just read it like this. You can say, when you see this such an operation, right, where plus and equal something is given, right, just try to do what, convert it like this. Whatever value you have, right, just use it, right? Just copy the entire thing, right, and bring it on the left hand side like this, and keep the whatever you had earlier, right, over there. These two means the same thing. Okay, and this is how you can read it and remember it. Similarly, if you want to reduce the value, right, you can do this. If you want to multiply the value, you can do this. If you want to divide the value, you can do this. Okay, again, this is not specific to JavaScript. This is available in all the languages. Okay, I hope there is no doubt on this part, right? Yeah, Amrin, please.
Yeah, Akhil. So is it a part of operator operation? Like,
Yes, these are all operations, right, which you're doing. So these are operations only.
okay.
Right. What are operators for everyone, right? Operators are these, right? Plus, minus, right? Divide, multiply, and all this, right? But you can divide them into different buckets: arithmetic operations, Boolean operations, right? Logical operations, right? So it could be different categories, but these are all operations only. If you are trying to do some calculations or some evaluations, it requires the help of an operator, right? If you want to concatenate two strings, there's an operation involved, right, in it. So that is called as an operator. These are all operators here, but these are arithmetic operators. Okay, okay, great. So I hope we are good with this. Let's move ahead. The second next thing which we'll cover is about okay, let's cover one very interesting thing, right? Okay, let's get to the board first. Yesterday I told you, right, about again about different data types, right? So majorly there are three, right? Undefined and null. Let's keep them aside, right? But the three which are relevant for us, right, which where we would be using maximum are what? Number, string, and Boolean, right? So number. So we have number, we have string, and we have Boolean. Okay, so these are the three different main buckets of the data types in JavaScript. Okay, number, string, and Boolean. Now, again, this is not just specific to this language, but in every other language also. What you can do, or what that language supports, it that you can convert one data type into another data type. So if you want, right, you can convert a number to a string. If you want, you can convert a string to a number, right? And similarly, right, okay, this could be different in other languages, but in JavaScript it is possible. You can convert a number to a Boolean, right? And you can convert a string to a Boolean. And for the matter of fact, right, you can convert undefined to Boolean, and you can convert null to, okay, Sridhar, okay. Just a second, let me just check one thing. Okay, Sridhar DevOps 2024. Sridhar, is it Sridhar Jaltaru?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
You
yes, I
changed your
can.
username, right? Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
no worries. Yeah, thank you. Uh, yeah, what I was discussing, yes, undefined, right? And the last part is the null part, right? Null is the fifth data type which we discussed yesterday. Even you can convert this null to a Boolean. You can convert your undefined to the Boolean. Okay. But what exactly I am saying all this? Let's discuss this, right? First of all, let's concentrate on the number and the string part. Okay. Let's go back to the JavaScript here, right? Okay, and let me just comment all this, right? Okay, how do you add comments in JavaScript? You, if you wanted to comment out a single line, right, you can put double slash. I think in Java also we do the same thing, right? We do double slash only, so you can write double slash here and it will work. If you wanted to add multiple lines, if you want to comment out multiple lines, what you should do is you should place it under slash asterisk, right, and cover all of this under this, right, and it will comment out. It's like a multi-line comment, right, which you can put in. Okay, so I've done the same thing. I've put the code inside the multiple line commits because I don't want JavaScript to run this. Okay, let's move ahead. Now we're talking about a very important topic of which is data type conversion. Now, when we're discussing this, right, we have three data types. One is, okay, we have five different data types, but I'm currently talking about numbers and strings. Number and string. Although there are seven data types, right? I told you yesterday itself, but we are going to focus on only five of them: number, string, Boolean, undefined, and null. Okay. So out of those five, also I am talking about number and string right now. Now, what you can do is, I'm saying you can convert a number to a string, and similarly, you can do the reverse of it. You can convert a string to a number. Okay. Now, when you are converting things, right, from one data type to another, right, there are two things, there are two ways in which it can happen. One is, and like the forced way, right, that you are converting it like by force, right? You're asking that, okay, convert this, right? It is not the system which is doing it, it is you who is asking the system to convert it into something else, right? So it is like manual conversion, right, that you want to do it. And second is called like an automatic conversion, which JavaScript will do it for you, right, if it matches to those rules, right? So this is called an automatic conversion. Now there's a name for this. Okay, there's a name for this. If it is an automatic conversion which is happening, which is being done by the JavaScript, right, it is called as coercion, right? Coercion. You have to remember these names, right? These are technical terms, right? Because in the interviews, people just use very good jargon, right? Technical jargon. You might know the concept, but because you do not remember the terminology, you could miss out on a question. Okay, so please remember this, right? What is coercion in JavaScript? At least it is like the automatic conversion of one data type into another. Okay, now we'll see the example of both the things, the manual one also and the automatically conversion, right, which is happening between different data types. Okay, let's create a number here now. So what I'll do is I'll create a number. We'll create a variable using let, and we will say let age, let's say my age 70, right? So I'm 70 years old. So this is what is the data type of this? Anyone? Is it string, number, Boolean?
It's a number.
Number.
It's a number, right? Okay, great. Right. Okay, tell me one more thing. If I create, let's say, my friend's age, if I do it like this, 30, What is this? Is it a number, string, Boolean, something else? What it is?
String.
It's a string. It's a string, right? It's a string. So you understand the difference,
Yes.
right, between a number and string, and how it appears like if it's a string. It could be in a double quotes. It could be under single quotes, right? As I've been saying, it can be also under single quotes, right? But since I'm coming from the background of Java, so I'm in the habit of writing double quotes because single quotes in Java stands for characters. Okay, yeah, here, right? Coming back. Now let's say I want to convert, right? I want to convert this number, which is age here, right? This variable into a string, right? Forcefully, right? Which is the manual part. How will I do it? I can just simply say let string of age. Let me write s to be small. String of age. I mean any random name, right? What I will do is I will say number. There is a method, right? Or what we'll say the interface here, which we are given. What we get is you can place this variable here, right? It's age here. What? Sorry, not number. I have to convert it to a string, right? So I have to use string here, right? If you wanted to convert forcefully a number into a string, right? This is how you will do it. You will put it into a string method here, right? And put the value inside this. Okay. What I will do is just to make sure that this is it. What we'll do is first of all I will print sh, and then I will also print the type of this, right? So that it can make sense that what conversion it really did. Let's run this. Okay, let me run this again. You see, age was 70. I converted into a string, right? Here, you will not be knowing like this is a string, or at least in the console, right? You will not get to know whether it's a string or a thing, right? But by seeing the data type of this, right, it makes sense. It makes things clear that it's a string now. It has been converted. I can prove it. See this here. If it's a string, right? And if I do this, okay, let me do this. Let's say let next year age. I'm going to use sh plus 1 like this. So can someone please tell me what should be the output if I run these lines?
701.
701.
701, right? Yeah, Anand, please ask your query.
Is it something similar to what we understand in Java as typecasting? That's what we are doing here.
Yes, I
Type
think
Yeah,
I
please.
think we are converting it to string. Then how can we add to a string?
How can you?
Add +1 to a string.
Okay.
So
Okay, good question.
not adding.
I think it gives error.
Here it is we are using concatenation.
Right. Okay. See, again in Java also, right? We concatenate two strings, right? By adding plus there, right? If you remember, right? If I wanted to, okay, let me first complete this, right? I'll come back to your question, Kiran. Okay, just give me some time. And coming back to Anand, right? When you say typecasting, right? It is sort of that only, right? But again, when we say about in Java also, right? I'm forgetting the name. There is a terminology for it, right? Typecasting. I think it is definitely typecasting, but for primitive types, right? It's a different terminology. I'm not remembering that part.
Auto boxing.
It is
Auto box.
No, auto boxing is something else. Auto boxing is
upcasting,
converting
downcasting.
Upcasting. No, not upcasting.
upcasting and downcasting. Uh, I'm currently remembering all this from the object side, but I can get a name, right? But again, the point here is that you are thinking on the right lines. There is a conversion, right, in Java also which happens, right? But it's just that I don't remember the name. Okay, but it's a similar concept.
We use parse methods.
No, not parsing. It's not parsing. Parsing means that you are evaluating something. So again, it's a different thing. Okay. Okay. Coming back to this part right here. So what I'm saying is, see this, right? What is happening here? when I run this line, right, till now, line number 37, 38 were clear, right? Let me write the output. The output of this line was 70. The output of this line was string, right? Because till now the sh has been converted to a string, right? Because of this line number 36. Now what I'm doing here is I'm saying I'm creating a new variable next year age, and I'm using the value which is stored in sh. What is the data type of sh currently? It is string, right? It is string. And if you wanted to add two strings together, let's say I want to write my complete name, Akhil and Jen, and I have stored Akhil into the first name as a variable and Jen in the last name as a variable, and I want to concatenate it and show it like a single string, Akhil Jen. So what can I do it? I can use plus, right? First name plus last name. It will concatenate to both the strings and it will consume it, right? That is how we do it. Let me show it if it is not clear. I can do one more thing. Just to get one extra console, let me open a new console tab here and show you here.
So okay, here like number 1 is being considered as a like a char or a string that is getting concatenated, because we are specifically writing the number plus 1.
Wait a second, you're talking about this part right here.
Yeah, here.
See, try to understand here, right? What is the data type of sh? Tell me.
It's string.
It's string, right? So you are something doing like this: string plus, and what is 1? Data type of 1. It's a number, right? It's a number, right? Now, what is happening here is if you try to, and what does this plus does? This plus operator has two meanings. If you use it in the context of when you have on the left hand side you have a number and the right hand side you have a number, right? And you use plus within it, right? It will act like an additional operation, right? Like an arithmetic operation.
Correct.
Right? So if you had a format like this where this was also a number and the right hand side also a number, then it will do the arithmetic addition, right?
Correct.
And you might have got 70 plus 1, it becomes 71. But this time, right, it's not number, it's a string. sh is a string now, right? Because we have converted this into a string, right? And the value currently here is not 70. It's not 70. Mind you, right? It's not 70. Okay, it is not this. Rather, it is this. It's a string.
Correct.
Right? So what we are doing here is, it is something like this. 70 plus 1. Now the rule says, if you try to add a number, right, to a string, what JavaScript will do it? JavaScript will this time do the automatic conversion of this number to a string. So this number will be converted to a string first. So it will be converted right here to a string. And now these two would be added. So if you concatenate two strings, what happens? It will be 70 and then 1, right? So the output would be this.
Understood.
Okay, this is how what things are happening there. Okay, and this is what the data. If you check the type of it, it will be string here. Let me run this and see the output. You see 701 and string. And this is also an example of automatic coercion, right? Or let's say type coercion, right? This is an automatic conversion of a number into a string, right? You can see it's a number. It got automatically converted to a string. I did not convert this. It converted automatically. Okay, someone said something. Okay, no worries, Harsh. Okay, so this is how it works, right? So this is the automatic coercion, right? Which is happening, the conversion part, converting from one data type to another. Manually, I showed you, right? You can convert a number to a string like this. Okay, now let's do one another thing, right? Let's come down. Let me just comment this part also again. Okay, now let's do the opposite, right? Now I will do what? I will do the opposite of number, sorry, a string to a number. String to a number. I want to convert this. Okay, so it's the automatic conversion, right? There are very limited places where JavaScript does that. One of the examples I showed you, right? and there are some or other examples, right, where it will do that automatic thing. But once it will there, I'll tell you. But we have to more focus on how conversion can be done manually. Okay, so let's say I want to have, let me create a variable. Let's say I will have, let's say, my roll number. I have a roll number, and I'm calling my roll number. I'm storing it as a string. I'm saying my roll number is 56. Okay, but I'm storing it as what? As a string here, right? Now, let's say let's understand this way that I do not. I want to add. I want to increase my roll number by, let's say, 2 values, right? So I want my roll number to be increased from 56 to 58. But now it's a string, right? So I cannot increase it, right? Like if it remain in the string only. So the option which I have is that to convert this string to a number first, and then add two to it, right? So let us try that. So I will say let number roll number, right? Let's something like this, and I will say number. We were using string in the earlier case, right? Remember when we were converting a number to a string, we were using string there, right? But now I have to convert, right, a string to a number. So I'll use a number method, and I will put roll number here. Okay, once I do this, right, and I try to do now this, I will say number roll plus 2. If I do this and I print console.log and I run it, you see I got what? 58. This is the manual conversion of a string to a number. But one catch here is that the number here, right, we had a string which could be converted to a number. 56 is a value in the numbers, right, in the number system. But if I was having some characters here, let's say Akhil, can I convert this string to a number?
Should be a type conversion error.
Okay.
It is a type conversion error.
Any other guess? Anyone else? I mean, you're thinking right? But JavaScript is strange, right? So you will have a strange thing here. I will tell you. But anyone else wants to give an attempt? If
Will
I
it give
convert,
an ASCII value?
okay, so you're saying ASCII value. Okay, great. ASCII value, and you were saying, Anand, what it should give what?
Some type conversion error.
Type
Yeah,
conversion error.
Yeah, if it is just a character, then if you convert it into a number or an integer, I believe it should give an ASCII value.
That is how it works in Java, right?
Python as well, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, Python, I don't know, but yeah, Java, this works like this, right? That you get an ASCII value, something around it. But this is JavaScript. It does not work this way, right? What happens here is if you convert a string to a number, right? What it says is, okay, let me first not do this because here itself will get something. We are converting this, right? So I'm printing this now, right? Let's see what do we get. I have a string, I'm converting into a number, and I'm printing that value now. Let me clean this up and print this. NaN. What is N? It could say no, right? It is saying NaN. What is it? What does?
Not a number.
Not a number, right? Not a number, right? So that's an acronym, and the full form is N stands for not, A stands for A, N stands for number. So it is saying that you converted a value, something, right, into a number, and while evaluating, I identified that this cannot be a number. So what JavaScript did was JavaScript placed a special value of nan inside this. Okay. But what is nan? What is the data type here? We have came across two strange words right now till now: undefined, null, not defined also. Although I have not explained undefined and not defined. That is the next thing which I'm going to do now. But there is another strange thing now: nan. Undefined and null are your data types, right? Primitive data types in JavaScript. What is nan? Is it also data type? If this is currently a value, right, you can see I'm printing num roll number, right, and it is printing me NaN, which says not a number. If I do this now, console.log type of roll number, right? If I do this, what do you think it should print? Should it print NaN again?
I think it should print number.
Okay.
Undefined.
Undefined. Okay. Anyone else?
Number. It should print number.
Okay. The people who are saying number, what is your reasoning around it?
Because we have already casted the means using number function, we have already put it into a number category. Right, in the line number 52.
Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. I think I can accept that. Yes, you're right. So that is one thing. Okay, but it will not be undefined then, you're saying, right? It will not be undefined, or it could not be like, see, that's a value, right?
Type. Yeah.
NaN is a value, right? Is a value. It's not the type, first of all, right? So if it would have been another type, right, I would have told you earlier only, like, right? So we discussed about 7 data types. There are not 8 data types, there are only 7, right? Okay, and it does not belong to undefined category. So NaN is not, if I run this, right, it will not print me undefined. Okay, so let me remove it, because this is not undefined data type. Okay, if it was undefined, then the output should have been undefined, right? This should have written me undefined. Then if I would have typed this, it would have given me undefined. Okay, what is NaN, right? NaN is a special type of a number in JavaScript. So if I run this, right, so the answer, whoever gave me the answer of number, right, that the data type of this roll number is number, you are absolutely correct. That is what it is. So let me run this now and show you. You see? So let me go to the board and just write it here so that everyone understands this. Try to understand. Numbers are what, right? I told you. Numbers are -1, 0, +1, right? Minus 4.7, plus 9.6, right? And any value we feel like, right? But in all these things, there is one additional value to it, which is NaN. Okay, and this is something added by JavaScript, right, in this acronym of in its dictionary of numbers, right? So, and when you will have such an output, when you try to convert something which cannot be converted into a number, right? But you're still trying to do that. If you try to do that, it will store the value as NaN, right? In the case of that conversion. Okay, so whenever you see NaN, right, somewhere, it should click your head, right, that okay, that someone tried to convert something into a number, but it could not be converted. That's why Java placed NaN there. Again, a very important interview question. Okay, till now we have discussed couple of questions, right, which are very basics, right, and people ask them a lot in interviews to check your basic JavaScript knowledge, right? Again, let me just write it down, right? We discussed about different data types, right? So please always remember that what different data types we have. We discussed about let, constant, and var, right? And all that. Let, const, var, where, sorry, not var, and without defining anything, right? What is the difference? Although the answer is still incomplete because scoping we don't know. So I'll discuss that part. There is something which you need to understand that about this NaN, right? That's something called NaN. There's a what is undefined, right? We have to understand, and someone asks us, we should be able to explain. What is null? We should know. And if you check the data type, right, of null, we discussed yesterday that it returns object. It does not return null. Does not return null here. It returns object. Why it returns object? We discussed it yesterday, right? So all these questions we should be knowing of, right? These are very basic questions, and someone can ask you, right? One more thing which you should know is there is a difference between undefined and not defined. Okay, again, a very important interview question. So what is the difference between undefined and not defined? Undefined, we know that it's a data type in JavaScript, right? It's a data type. If you wanted to have a variable, you can do something like this, right? You can create let name or first name, right? First name equals to undefined. If you write it like this, right? First of all, you can assign it like a value, and if you will check the data type of this variable, it will give you undefined only, right? This is this thing, right? It is undefined. Let me show you again. Undefined versus not defined. Okay. Now see this. If I create a variable, let whether you use let or not, right? Let's say first name equals to Akhil. Sorry, not Akhil. Let's say undefined. If I do this and I say console.log and I print first name, and if I do console.log type of first name, and if I run this, you see the value is also undefined and the data type of this also undefined, right? So this is undefined about it, right? We discussed this yesterday only. Okay. If I do this, I told you this is not correct, right? It will throw an error. So because we are not using let const and all, like, so let me just use let here first of all. If I do it this way, right, and still run it, what would be the output? Anyone? It would still be undefined. Does anyone has a query on this, like why this time it is undefined? If you do not assign, if you declare a variable and don't assign a value to it, JavaScript will assign a value to it with the name as, with the value as undefined. And once a variable gets undefined, the other type of that variable becomes undefined. Any question on this part? Kiran, you were saying something? Yeah, please.
No, I was saying no, no correction.
Right, you understood this, right?
Yeah, understood.
Okay, great. Now, what is not defined now? Okay, this is all undefined. What is not defined? Let's say I write a code console.log Alan. Have I created a variable called Alan in any of my code which is not commented out? You can see, right, everything above is commented out. So this is the only legitimate code here. Have I created anything with Alan as a variable? Yes or no? I did not declare a variable, right, with Alan.
Yes.
I did not, right? And if I try to run this now, right, what should be my output? Should it give it undefined? Should it get undefined?
Not defined.
No, actually, I'm not defined. It will give error for not defined.
Right. That is where it will give us. Let me just clean this up and write it again. It is Alan is not defined. So what did we learn from this? We are learning that if you try to consume a variable, which you have not declared, right? Which you have not declared enough, right? And since you have not declared, it does not have a value. And since you have not declared, right, it does not exist. And you're trying to use such a variable. So what JavaScript is saying is, buddy, please go and define a variable first, right? And then use it, right? And in the error you're saying, it is telling you, okay, that please understand this, that this is a variable which you have not defined, right? So since you have not defined, I don't know what to do with it, right? And that is what the not defined means, right? It's like an error, right? It's like an error which you get if you try to use a variable which you have not declared. So you can see Alan is such a variable which I have not declared and I'm trying to consume it. That's why I'm getting an error saying Alan is not defined. Okay. I hope you got the difference between the two, right? Undefined is a data type in JavaScript, and not defined is an error which you will get if you try to consume a variable which you have not declared. Any question on this part? Because you will get a lot of errors, right, while you work on a piece of code, and you will see such kind of errors a lot, right? Not defined and all that. Okay, so you should be aware, like if you get not defined, it should click in your head that okay, I'm trying, maybe I'm using a variable which I have not declared, and that's why the problem is occurring. Okay, so undefined versus not defined. These are very basic questions, right, in JavaScript. And people who, I mean, okay, one more question I discussed yesterday was about ECMAScript, right? So please include that also in the basic list. People ask you that what version of JavaScript are you using? Oh, there's one more thing, right? If someone asks you that, can you please check me on the system what version of JavaScript I'm using? Can I know that? I told you yesterday only that you cannot find, like in Java, if you have to know the version of Java, right? What do? You say Java hyphen version, and it prints you the version of the JDK which you're using, right? You cannot do similar thing for JavaScript. There is no, I mean, command there, right? Where you will write JavaScript hyphen version and it will give you a version. There is no such command. How did we came to know about the version of JavaScript which I am using on my system? The answer is through Node.js, right? I can check what version of Node.js I have installed on my system, and with whatever version I have installed, right? That Node.js version supports a specific version of ECMAScript, and that is what my version of JavaScript is. So I have installed on my system Node.js is 22, right? So the version of Node on my system is 22. And we checked yesterday on the Google, right? We checked Google, we asked Google, okay, I have this version of Node.js on my machine. So this version supports which ECMAScript language or which version of JavaScript? It gave me an answer saying that it supports ECMAScript 2023, right? But again, we discussed this part also. It does not mean that you're using the features which this ECMAScript is providing. Majority of the time, you would be still using ECMAScript to 2015 versions, which is also called as ES6. Okay, so maximum time you would be using the versions, the features which are coming from this, right? But currently, what version of JavaScript is installed in your machine? This version. Okay, so there's a difference between the two also. Okay, so these are the basic questions, and we're good on this part. What else I have to cover today? We have covered coercion, conversion. Let's continue on our conversion part, right? I've shown you if you wanted to convert, right, a number to a string. So we did this part and we did this part, right? And we understood like how things work. Let's talk about Boolean, right? I'm saying that you can convert all of them, right, into Boolean. Okay. Yesterday, I was mentioning something, right, about Boolean also. Let me complete that discussion now. Okay, come on. Yeah, Kiran, please.
I was just wondering, now that we have converted string to number, right, and it is showing anyway. So what happens if we concatenate one to it?
If we concatenate
1 plus 1. So is it doing
if I do
addition?
this,
Yes.
okay, if
So
you add something,
before
okay,
that, we have converted a string to number, and then I'm trying to continue. What happens?
so this is correct, right? This is what you want me to do.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not this one. Sorry, you wanted to
Yeah.
do the other part. Sorry, yeah. Just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I understood. Okay, just a second. Let me first comment this out. You want me to do this part, right? So you're saying that okay, you had a variable called roll number, which was a string. You converted it into a number. So now, if I'm printing a number roll number, it prints NaN, right? Let me first of all comment this out. So what if I add +1 to it, right? What should it print, right?
Yes.
This is the question, right? Okay,
Mhm.
I feel it should print NaN only, but let's check. Okay, I could be wrong, but let's try. Okay, let me just NaN. not you are trying to add something, right, which is nan, right? So treat it like this, right? You're trying to add something to a garbage, it is still a garbage. Okay, so you can understand that way, right? So it is nan only. Okay. Okay, great. Where were we? We were discussing about, yeah, this part. Okay, man, come on. This is still not came up. Or I'll have to delete the board. Okay, leave it. I'll do it here only. I'll do it here. So the Boolean part, right? What are the values if I'm creating a variable, let's say let is valid, and I want to assign a Boolean value to it? What can I assign as a value here? Anyone? I want to assign a Boolean value to this variable. So what can I write right here?
True or false?
True or false, right? Something like this. I can either assign true or false, right? And this variable, and if I check the type of this, it will become Boolean, right? It will become Boolean.
Yes.
And these are the two possible values across globe, across different languages, right? And you can assign true and false, and it will become like this, right? And these are treated as the only two values which you can have in a Boolean world, either true or false, right? But not in JavaScript. JavaScript, we have something else also. Okay, JavaScript here, right? There is a concept called Truthy and Falsy. Okay, again, please understand this. This is Truthy, right? Truthy, Y, right? After it, and there is something called Falsy. Falsy, right? Now, what does this mean? In JavaScript says, right, if you try to convert, right, that these are, I mean, what JavaScript says is that there are certain values. If you try to convert those values, right, into Boolean purposefully, right, if you try to make that conversion of data type, right, let's say from string, number, null, undefined to a Boolean, JavaScript supports that. Okay, JavaScript supports converting these values into a Boolean value, right? So whatever value, right, whatever value you are trying to convert, if they convert into a true value, right, a true value, this operation, right, of converting these kind of data types, right, into Boolean would be termed as truthy. Okay, truthy. But if during the conversion the output attains a value of false, right, that would be termed as falsy. I'm sure it is not clear, but let me now tell you, right, what can be done. So I told you, right, if you wanted to convert anything to a number, right, you were typing number here, right, number, and we were giving, let's say, Akhil here, right? So it will convert to a number, right? We are getting a convert to a number. Similarly, if you wanted to convert something to a string, we were saying 56, and it was getting converted. Similarly, for Boolean, if you want to convert something into Boolean, you can type Boolean. There's a method there, and you can provide a value. Okay. Now, what JavaScript says is that there are 5 values, right? There are 5 values, right, coming from different data types. If you provide them here, right, inside this, those will convert this into a true Boolean value. I mean, true as a value here, right? What are those values? Let me check actually, when I don't remember. There are 5 of them. Yes. Okay. Sorry, not true. Sorry, false part, right? Not the true part. So there are 5 values which you can convert. If you use them, right, and try to convert into a Boolean, they will convert to a false value of Boolean. Okay. What are those? If you try to convert, let me talk about numbers. If you try to convert 0 to a Boolean, right, by saying Boolean 0, it will convert into false. It will attain the value of false. Okay. In string, I think if you try to provide a blank value, right, this blank value to a Boolean, it will convert into a false. Okay. The third thing, if you try to convert undefined to a Boolean, it will convert into a false value. If you try to convert null into a Boolean value, right, it will convert into a false value. Okay, the conversion will happen, right? They will get converted into a Boolean. That is not a quotient. It will get converted, but what value of Boolean it will attain, whether either it will attain true or false, that is the question. Okay, and whatever values results into false, right, those are called as falsy values. Okay, you're saying something, Hasan? You're saying something? Okay, right, and there is one more actually. Yes, there is something for nan also, right? So if you try to convert nan also, right, into a Boolean, it will also convert to false. So in the number system, right, there are two values which can be converted, 0 and nan into a false, right? In string, it's a blank value. It is undefined and null also, right? Undefined and this. Let's see this, right? Let's see this. If I go back, let me just comment this out. We are saying what? Yeah, truthy and falsy. Truthy and falsy. Currently, we're talking about falsy. It means automatic conversion, right? Okay, so it means those values which are not false but will get converted to false, if converted to Boolean. So what are the examples? The first example is, if you have a variable, let's say age, right? Age equals to 0. If I do this, let me create a Boolean value. Let is okay. Let me just type it in console, right? I'll have to create otherwise unnecessary lot of variables. So I will say Boolean age, right? If I run this, right, 0 in numbers, right, there are two things which you can convert into Boolean false value. What are those? These are 0 and NaN. Okay, so if I run this now, you see it converted into a false value. If I use NaN, right, you can assign NaN also, right? You can assign NaN. It's not an issue. I think you can do that. The false, right? What if I provide one here? Any other value from the number system which is not 0 or NaN, what should I get? Till now I was getting false, but if I convert these into Boolean, I should get what? I will get true this time. Okay, so what are falsy values? These are those values which are not really false, right? Like 0 and NaN, right? These are not false, but when we are converting this into a Boolean, right, the value they will attain in Boolean world would be what? False. Okay, similarly, if you talk about string, right, so let's name. Yeah, Anand, please.
So Akhil, does this also means that the type of age variable is also converted to Boolean, right? Because of the value that was provided.
Okay, see, let me just come back. Let's come back to this portion first. So when you say this, right, age, if I try to print console.log age, right, and type of age, type of is a single word, type of age. As per you, what do you think? It should be Boolean or number here?
It will be Boolean now.
It will be Boolean. Okay. I feel it will not be Boolean. It will be number,
Okay.
because it does not change that variable in place, but it converts right and consumes that value. Let us
Okay.
check this. Okay. Let us check this. You see, it's still a number.
Okay.
But you can store this Boolean right into a variable if you want to do that. What you can do, you can say is valid, let's say, right, and you can do this part, and you can now check this is valid part. Okay, and now if you check the console log, type of is valid, right? This time you should get what?
Boolean.
Boolean, right? So what we are learning from this, we are learning that when you do this conversion, right, there is no impact on the original variable, right? It is what it is, right? It is not getting converted, but it is that during the operation you're trying to convert this, right? And if you feel like, you can assign this to a proper variable where you can sustain that value, right, in your execution. But if you don't want to sustain and just consume it once, you can do it directly. But if you want to sustain, you will have to hold it into a variable like I'm doing now. So
Okay.
if I run this now, this should say what? This should say false. No, this should say true, right? Because it's 1 here, and this should return Boolean, and this should return me number. Agree?
Agree.
Okay, yeah, this is what we got. Okay, now again, only 0 and NA, and if you try to convert into Boolean, will return you false. Anything else you use, it will be, let's say, -1. What this will return? True, right? If I give 0, if I give decimal value also, it would be, and convert it into a, it will be still true only, right? So this is about numbers, right? Let's talk about the string part, right? So we'll say first name equals to, let's say, these blank values, and I will do what? I will directly just use this one, console.log first name, sorry, Boolean first name. See, these are very basic building blocks of JavaScript, right? We need to be very thorough on this. That's why I'm spending too much time on all of these, so that we have a very solid foundation. Because tomorrow, once we start working on writing some code, right, we should not get stuck into silly issues, right? That, okay, why this is behaving this way, why this is behaving this way. Now we are covering every rule one by one, so that once we start writing some code, we do not have to spend time on all these rules again. Okay, so let's try to run this. I will just say comment the above part, and let's try to see what it will give. It should return me what? It should return me false, I believe, if I am writing it correctly. Let's see. Let me clear this up. False, right? False. So it's an empty. Whether you put, if you put it in a single quote also, it should be false, right? If I give a space here, let's see what, if it is a space or what. It should give me what? Okay, okay. There is one mistake, right? So you do not, if you give a space, right, it is not treating it like what we say, like it is not converting into a false value, right? But if you do not give a space and it's like an empty thing, right? An empty thing. If you add a space, it is still considered like a character, right? But if you're not giving anything inside this, right, that is something which is considered, when you convert into a Boolean, it is considered as a false value. So let me write it again. What I have to say is, empty values, right? Empty values are considered as false, right? But space, right? Space strings are considered as true value, right? As true. If I give Akhil, right, what would be the output? True. Okay, that would be considered as a truthy value. something which, if converted to Boolean, will return you a true as an output. True, right? Okay. So in the case of numbers, what are the values which will return into false? 0 and NaN, right? In case of strings, what are those values? Only this empty string, right? That is, you open the single quote or double quotes and closes it, right? Without providing any space. The next part is about undefined, right? So let me create any variable, right? Let's say LG, right? And let me say, if I do this also, right, it will be console.log Boolean LG. Right? So LG here, right, will attain a value of undefined. And if I'm converting into a Boolean, it would be false. Right? It will be false. If I do this or if I do this, it means the same stuff. False. Similarly, if you give it a value null, right, which is my fifth data type, right? If I'm using it like this and if I convert it into this, still false. Okay? I hope it is making sense, right? What is a truthy and what is a falsy value, right? Again, it's an interview question, right? Being asked in the interview. So you should be knowing about that. Okay? What are those values if converted to Boolean will result into a false, right? And there are only a handful of them. In strings, it is empty string. In numbers, it is 0 and NaN. In undefined, it is undefined, and the last is the null. So only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 values are such in the whole JavaScript, which can, if converted to Boolean, will result into false. Everything else will return into a true. Okay, this will come very handy when we will be discussing about. When we will be writing the code again, right? Okay, I think we are good for today. I don't want to cover anything else because I'll not be able to finish them. So yeah, I think I'm good. Okay, so I hope if anyone has any query, yeah, please feel free to ask. No? I hope you're enjoying, right? You're learning something new. I don't know like how deep knowledge you had about JavaScript before these classes, but I'm trying my best to make sure that you get everything from JavaScript, and once you start working on it, you should not have a query, you should not have a thought process thinking, okay, how things are working. That should never be the case. Okay?
Definitely, okay. Learning really new things.
Great.
New language.
Okay, great. Okay, if no other queries, let's wrap it up for today and let's meet tomorrow. Tomorrow, again, if someone wants to know, we are going to cover about, we have not covered comparison operations, we have not covered Boolean operations, we have not covered equality operations. We will cover all this tomorrow, and we'll work on strings in depth tomorrow. So these are the 4 topics which I have in plan. So let's see how much we are able to cover. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for today. Let's meet tomorrow. Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. Good night.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.